Hi everyone and welcome back. In this video we are going to talk about cookie-based authentication. So in the last module we talked about session-based authentication. This video it's primarily will be based on session-based authentication. So we are talking about three different things: session-based, cookie-based and token-based. So first we will try to understand what are cookies, right? Cookies are small text information which are sent by the server and stored at the browser. And what all information we store inside a cookies? Maybe auth token, preference, session ID, user ID, or something like that. What are the type of cookies? Like you can say session cookies, third-party cookies, secure HTTP only cookies, persistent cookies, which has expiration of time, right? So cookie-based authentication is widely popular. What happens is you log into some system, server sends you the cookies, which browser manages it, right? And then in subsequent request, you are sending the same cookies back to the server. So server can identify, okay, this is the cookie sent by me, and now it is coming back from the client. So server can validate the cookies, okay, if those cookies are valid and representing a user, I should allow you to log in. So cookies are some simple plain information like this, which contains the query parameter like session ID, and these are the attributes, right? Okay, cookies are HTTP only and secure. So there are many ways in which we have to make our cookies secure so that nobody can read the cookies throughout the network traffic. So we need to make it HTTP only. So that should not be accessible by JavaScript at a client side. Secure, that means that cookies should be sent over HTTPS. Same site, that means the same cookies can be exchanged between the same domain. Not like, okay, if I steal the cookies, I cannot use it on my own domain. So these CSRF attacks and all will be gone, right? So in real world application, if we try to think about the cookies, how it works, we have a client, we have a server. User logs in with the username password, server sends us the cookies. Now that cookie can be anything. That cookies data can be a simple JWT token, it can be a session ID, it can be user ID, it can be a session ID which we are storing in the Redis, right? So that will be the cookies. Information can be anything inside the cookies. It can be a token, it can be a session ID. The another thing is, once you receive the cookies, you will be sending the cookies back to the server. So this is how the session is exchanged between client and a server. So we have already seen session-based authentication. There the client was sending the session in form of cookies only. If you remember the last module where we were using session-based authentication, there also the information exchange was happening through cookies only. Okay, after that we will talk about the token-based authentication. So that we will be sending through headers. So between client and server, you can send information either in the cookies, in the query parameter, in the request body. But these authentication information we always send either through cookies or either through headers like X API key, X token, authorization header. So authentication information, token, cookie, session ID, we send through the either cookies or either through authorization header. So mainly in token-based authentication, we send the token through authorization header. But in cookies-based authentication, whatever the authentication mode, either we use token-based, so that token also will be sent through cookies. So that's the major difference between cookie-based and the token-based. In token, we don't use cookies at all. We just send a token always in the authorization header. But in cookies-based authentication, either you use a token-based authentication or anything. The most important part is we will be using cookies for exchanging the data. Now that cookie can be representing some session ID, user ID, auth ID, or token also, the plain JWT token. So people sometimes get confused when they see the JWT token coming inside a cookies. Yes, you can send it. The cookies can have anything. Even you can send a JWT token because it's only about how we exchange the information. Right? Either you send a token in the JSON response and send it in the authorization header. You can send the token in the cookies also. Then you decode it while sending it back to the server. So let's dive in the cookies-based authentication. First, we will try to set up application. Then this is the simple setup you are trying to create. Okay, so this is the plain and simple structure how cookies works. This is your browser. You see the login screen. You enter the username password. It sends the data to the post authenticate or login post API. Server validate username password. Server sends the HTTP status 200 with the cookies. So this cookie has a session information. It can be session ID, it can be token, it can be user ID. And now when you are sending another request like get API user, what it will do is server will validate the session and you don't need to explicitly do anything. Once you send the cookies to the browser will automatically attach these cookies with the API request you are sending to the same domain. Okay, you don't need to explicitly add the cookies. And now server will validate the cookies. Okay, it represents the valid user. It sends the information back to the client. So this is the plain and simple structure how cookies works. Cookies data can be anything, can be token, session ID, user ID, auth ID, email ID. It's just a way of identifying that we have a valid identifier coming back with the protected private request. Now cookies are something which we are exchanging between client and server, right? So we also need to think about their security. Are they secure enough? Nobody's going to steal or all those things. So this is how we can secure our cookies. Cookies are nothing but a secure data. You should always take care of the security. So when you are setting cookies, make sure HTTP only is true. That means it cannot be read by the browser. Browser cannot interpret, manipulate or read it. It should be secure. Same site, that means whatever the domain you set, only that with that site this is available. And also set an expiry so that once the cookies are expired, they cannot be used, they cannot be sent to the server again. So HTTP only, prevent XSS attack, secure, ensure that it is used only on HTTPS, same site. It restricts the cross-site sending of the same cookies. Path, I mean, you can also specify the particular path, but it sends the cookies to all the API calls which are being sent to the entire app. Maximum age or expires, how long the cookies stays on the browser. So that's good, right? And how it works in the code, you can just send cookies like this, response.cookies, like response.send, response.json we do in Express, response.cookies. And these are the cookies attribute, HTTP only, secure true, same site, maximum age and path. In development, you can just set a secure false, but these are like very important things. Common security mistake, you forgot to add HTTP only, secure flag, same site. So to make your cookies most secure in production application, then you need to set all those things, HTTP only true, secure true, same site, either strict or flexible, maximum age, the expiry of the cookies on the browser. This is how you can make your cookies ultra secure. Now let's talk about the basic setup of the NestJS application to get started with the whole authentication using cookies, where we will be exchanging the GWT token from the client to server. We are using cookie-based authentication where we are exchanging the data in form of GWT token. Okay, so let's try to set up the basic app. What we are going to do is we are going to create a simple NestJS application for this whole demo. I hope you already know how to just bootstrap a CLI. We have a Nest CLI. With the help of that, we can create a basic application. We are using simple Nest CLI, and with the Nest CLI, we can create a simple basic application. So I already have created that basic setup. Let's take a look. So this is our repository, right? I created this NestJS app setup. In source, I have a code domain shared. I'm going to have a two different module, user module and auth module, because we are going to add authentication. We are going to use a different auth strategies. And this is the user module to create like, okay, user registration. And then once user logs in, user should be able to access his own information. Shared module. This is our main module. I will try to add all the required things, like we will need a database, TypeORM, entities, tiny little Docker setup we already have, I think. Yes, Docker utils. What I will do is I will copy the Docker compose file. We already have Docker compose file. So that will, when I do the Docker compose, what will happen is it creates the container for me. I need to make sure the Docker is up and running. Let's spin up the Docker through the Docker desktop. I can just do Docker compose up. Docker is still coming up, so it will give me an error. Let's wait for some time. And once the Docker container is up and running, I will have a database up and running for me. This is the database and Redis. Redis I don't need, but this is like a Docker Compose file. And this is my basic setup, right? This is my simple controller, module, root module. This is my service, main.ts main module. I don't need to explain because in the last video we have already covered all those things. And here my package JSON where I have all the dependencies needed. I think we already have a Postgres added already there. Otherwise I will add it. I need some passport module for the login strategy. And these are the basic setup. NestJS setup for cookies based auth. These are the two projects we have. Okay, let's start working on this one. Now we can start setting up the basic NestJS application because we are building a simple authentication platform where we are going to use cookie-based authentication. So how to get started? Very simple. We will be using NestCLI, simple NestCLI, because we have already covered one NestJS application in the last video. We will follow the same strategy, NestCLI, and we can just create a simple new project. Okay, that project will have this basic things like controller, service, main.ts, and a basic bare bones structure. And then we will create a required modules, providers, controllers, middlewares, exception filters, pipes. When we are building authentication, I think we will be covering almost all those things. At least the interceptors, pipes, middlewares, modules, providers, controllers, services, DAO, database modules, and all sort of things. So let's take a look on our basic setup. So this is our NestJS application setup, right? What it contains: controller, modules, and service. And this is the main.ts. This is the main module. This is the controller. And inside domain, we will be creating a couple of folders like auth module and a user module, because we are building authentication APIs and the user APIs. User for sign up and accessing the protected API data, authentication for the login, logout, all sort of things. We will be using the core stuff like a middleware, pipes, interceptors, filters, auth guards. All these are core of the NestJS. Shared module, if you want to share something across auth and a user, maybe you can split that into a shared service. So overall, we need to do all these things. You can install npm. You can either use pnpm or npm. These are the two different package managers. I added a pnpm, add NestCLI globally, then nest new auth app. You go inside this and you will find a folder structure, something like this. So you can have an authentication module, a user management module, configuration files. Main.ts will be the entry point, app module will be the root module, auth and the users will be the modules, right? You can also use NestCLI to generate controllers, modules, services like nest generate module, nest generate controller, nest generate service. And this is the tsconfig file because we are writing a TypeScript code. So this is like a bare bones structure of how things should work in our NestJS application. And now we will start adding things. But we want to have authentication mechanism through cookies, where cookies will be exchanging the data of a access token from the client to the server. Hey everyone, so now we have everything set up. Here I can see my project, NestJS application, which contains the controller, module, services. Okay, I have the Docker containers up and running. You can see there are two containers. One is Redis and one is the database. Database is clean. We just bootstrap the clean database without any tables. So we should be able to bootstrap the database with some tables using TypeORM. Okay, so what we will do is, let's take a look on to some basic setup. Okay, how we are going to return the cookies using Simple Express app, right? That will also tell us how to deal with the cookies. So let's consider that you are writing a Simple Express Node.js application, and here we are doing mock implementation. how to return the cookies. Okay, so I installed Express, and here I just wrote a simple logic app login, right, where I'm just doing a mock implementation. So whenever authentication is done, okay, username password is correct, I'm returning response.cookies. So this is how I'm sending cookies to the client. HTTP only true, secure true for production, and there is some expiry set. And when the request is coming to the server with the private endpoint, like this is a protected API, then you will get a cookies like this request.cookies.token. So here you set the cookies in the response from the first API, from the login API. Now you are accessing your own profile information after you successfully logged in. So you are accessing cookies using request.cookies.token. If you are passing token, you will be authenticated. Otherwise, you are passing token, I will validate you with the token with the same secret which I have, and I will say welcome user, right? And once you do the logout, you can just clear out the cookies, response.clear cookies. So it will wipe out all the cookies sent by server to the client. So this is how you will make the cookies secure. I mean, this is like a bare bone minimum setup of doing this thing. I mean, we will also be doing the same thing in the NestJS. Just like we will introduce database, passport strategy, JSON web token, local strategy, all those concepts we will just add with the NestJS. But there also we will be doing the same thing. We will generate a token. Once the username password is correct in the database, we will return a cookies, and the same cookies we will be able to access in the middleware to check, okay, you are passing token is valid, we decoded it, it represents a correct user, and you will be allowed to access the resources. On the logout, you can clear the cookies and send the response back. So let's try to implement this logic in the NestJS with all the required building blocks.